Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are currently working on getting our cast stuff delivered over to Duna. We just did a landing test last episode and it worked surprisingly fine, so we're ready to proceed at this point. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to couple on some additional fuel tanks here. We'll do 4 of them, and that will be something about like this. I'm using the smaller decouplers here. And I'm a little bit concerned at this point about height because, well, we might be able to cram it in here, but I want rounded off nose cones here on the top. And that's the wrong size. We are looking for this size. Okay, we're gonna have to lower this a little bit, but that's absolutely fine. We can have them about there or so. And with the length of this poodle, I'm actually thinking about tossing in a couple of extra ones. So these are T100s here. I think we can fit in a T200. Yeah, something about like that. Now, we're going to need this to be fuel ducted in. I'm not going to bother with the variable release. I don't think that's necessary here. So that seems fine. And then down here, I'm going to put in a TD12? I mean, this poodle is technically a 2.5 meter engine, but we have it in compact mode. But we could theoretically disable the shroud and have it look kind of like this instead. And I think that's what I'm going to do. Then I want to adapt this up to 2.5 meter. I think we're going to need this guy, then this guy, in order to get up to 2.5 meter. And these are going to be gray and orange here. So it'll be something kind of like that. And this is where we're going to get into our big orange tanks. As you can see, we kind of end up truncating here because we're changing our diameter from 1.25 meters up to 2.5 meters. So this here, we could even potentially strap on a little bit of extra fuel. T100s might be able to fit here. Just barely. I think if we move this up 1 tick, then we're good. Okay, I'm going to strut these together, and then I'm going to strut them into the center, or maybe just strut them like that. And then do the same thing out over here, like so. I don't really like the way that it had these struts here, but it's fine. That should be okay. That should be nice and solid. So at this point, that should be okay. And then we need to think about how are we going to deliver this thing to orbit. And of course, the answer is very standard. We are going to do this via big orange tanks and mainsails. What else are we going to do? So we're going to grab a couple of big orange tanks here. We'll, of course, make them orange because orange is better. And we are going to then grab ourselves a mainsail. And the question is, what's the thrust away to this right now? And yes, I know our staging is messed up. 1.27. That's surprisingly decent. I mean, this is a light payload compared to what we're used to lifting. I do want to have this guy be down here. This engine should go here. And that's going to substantially boost our engine capacity. So that's absolutely fine. And at this point, I'm thinking that we're just going to put on, and we need snapping on here. I'm thinking we're just going to put on a pair of Clydesdales. We don't need 4. So 2 of these are rather large, that's for sure. Maybe we even want to go down to Pollux's. I think we do. This is just so much lighter of a payload than we're used to. So let's put in some Pollux's here. That'll be better. And we're going to move these guys right on down to be about right there or so. And then we can get a little bit of fuel up top for this center core. We'll burn through that fuel pretty quickly, I think. This is going to be FL size. Yeah, we need less than that. So it's going to end up being something like this in terms of the fuel here. And then we're going to have a fuel line that goes in like Needs to be in fuel tanks. There we go. We're going to have a fuel line that goes in like this, and then we'll just strut this. So we'll put in a strut connector. I do want to, I think, put in struts here, like that, now that I'm thinking about it. And then I do want to have struts from here to here, and on the bottom as well. So this should be reasonably solid. The questions that I have now are aerodynamics and fuel burn time. So let's do a quick simulated launch of this. I don't know how it's going to go. It's probably going to go reasonably well. I'm not that concerned about the aerodynamics, actually. Well, I'm a little concerned about it. If we, like, aerodynamic stress test it, I think we'll find problems. But the question is, are there going to be any problems with just a standard launch? I don't know that there'll be enough atmospheric pressure for that. Let's find out. Burn times are a big question here. So let's go ahead and turn on our autopilot here. I'm going to set our orbital altitude pretty low, about 150, and an orbital inclination of 0. There we go. We'll engage this autopilot. Skip circularization is fine. We don't have an antenna on this, so no matter what happens here, we're going to revert this. This is not going to get graduated up because we do not have an antenna. Solar panels we're fine on, but let's see how this goes. Staging is wrong, so we can definitely do that. 1.66, I didn't even look. That's pretty ideal. Let's go. Little bouncy there at the beginning, but it evens out. Very peppy on that roll. Very, very, very peppy on that. Okay, and over we head. Roll to azimuth was successful. And let's see if we have any attitude loss. But the next question, of course, okay, we've already burned through that fuel, so that's not terribly surprising. Let's just continue to go through here. We could add more fuel here if we wanted to, but yeah, we burned through that very swiftly. So that's all absolutely fine. As long as we burn these out before we burn the SRB out, that's what I care about. Because the empty tanks there, yeah, they're dead weight right now, but they're not a significant amount of dead weight, and our thrust to weight is pretty good. Actually, is our thrust to weight too high? We shall see. So our SRBs are going to be done here in about 10 seconds. So I don't think our thrust to weight is too high. What's our current apoapsis looking like? 50? Okay, noted. We're punching through the atmosphere pretty quick here. We'll see if we have any heat issues. Yeah, that staging was pretty clean, which we would expect with this setup. I'm not concerned about the staging issue there. And I don't have it set to auto stage, although I'm sure that MechJeb would be able to figure out this staging. That's not an issue. So that's absolutely fine. Our thrust to weight is pretty good. We've cleared the plasma sheath. And we're currently rolling on over to the horizon. Our apoapsis is looking good. We've got a lot of DV left in this booster tank. Yeah, this is fine. There's no issue here. Let's pull this back. That's going to make it to orbit, but we know for a fact that we need to have at least an antenna on here. And then I want to check to see, do we think we're missing anything else? To be honest, I think it's fine. I don't think we need anything else. Do we want to have the antenna here, or do we want to have the antenna down here? I think the antenna should be on the rover itself. So let's go ahead and put that in. It doesn't really matter so much where. I'm just going to deposit it right about here-ish. I mean, it's going to clip in a little bit. Maybe if we put it here, I think then it's probably going to clip with this solar panel. Actually, that's not too bad. Okay, we can go with that. We could also put it up here, where it's more likely to clip with the solar panel. Let's not do that. Down here, it might end up impacting the ground. Yeah, that's a concern. What if we just put it out over here? Or if we attached it to, like, the front or the back at a bit of a jaunty angle. So something kind of like Where are we here? Okay, I think we need to turn off the snapping to do this. No? I know there's an angular point here, but what I want to do is I want to just put it about here, and then I'm going to use the rotate tool. And we'll just put it at a bit of a jaunty angle like this. And then once that is extended, it will clip into this solar panel, but once that's extended, then it's clear. So we could move the solar panels in a little bit, and that's maybe not the worst idea in the world. We can do something kind of like this. And now clearances are much better. Okay, so that looks good. At this point, I think we're ready to launch this thing for real. I don't think we're missing anything else. So let's go ahead and get this going. This should be a very, very basic launch. I don't foresee any major issues here. So any moment now, we will get this thing loaded in. Now, we're probably going to need to send one more flight, I think, out to our base, because we need to populate it with more Kerbals. So that's something that we're going to need to do. Don't bother with skipping circularization, and go ahead and auto-stage. We should be completely fine to have this go, except for the fact that this staging is still slightly broken. Let's double-check our staging before we go. This is good. Yes. This is good. Yep. All looks good. Okay. We've engaged autopilot, and off we go. Again, I don't foresee any issues here. This is an unsimulated launch. So that's all absolutely fine. We've got our antenna on here, and everything should be good. Our roll, yaw, and pitch are going a little nuts, but that should tone down here in a little bit. So let's take a look at our maneuver mode here, and the question is, do we think it's okay to physics warp as MechJeb is doing this? Physics warp isn't exactly a fast forward. It has a tendency to magnify small problems into big problems. So I think we're just going to be patient and punch through the atmosphere here, and we can do all the warping we like once we get to space. That's my theory. And I'm sure we'll do some physics warping as we come down on Duna. It doesn't really matter there. But here, small problems could result in big problems very quickly. So we'll just hang out here for the moment. This is absolutely fine. Our apoapsis is looking pretty solid. We're going to have our SRBs stage shortly. So everything is looking great there. And this rocket is definitely a little bit overbuilt for this payload, but we don't need a fairing on it. Everything should be okay. SRBs are gone. There we go. And we're nice and solid here. So at this point, that apoapsis is creeping upward, and I would like to be heading to the horizon. Looks like MechJeb wants to as well. So MechJeb wants to go to the horizon here, and that's the correct call. I want to go to the horizon at this time as well. So over we go. Our apoapsis is plenty high. We need to be getting horizontal speed at this point. I fully agree with MechJeb on this. So we burn at the horizon here until our apoapsis is right at about 150. MechJeb will fine-tune the apoapsis fairly soon here, and then it'll coast to the edge of the atmosphere and occasionally do little bursts. It'll physics warp a decent amount of that. Yeah, there it goes, fine-tuning that apoapsis. Now we're coasting to the edge of the atmosphere. I wouldn't bother kicking this back up like this. Oh! Right. Auto-deploy solar panels. These can't be retracted. I guess we just hope that they don't blow up through the Duna atmosphere. Yikes. I mean, they're in a good orientation, so maybe they survive. Duna's atmosphere is very, very thin, right? Also, what is this coasting that we're doing? We're going the wrong way. Come on, reaction wheel. I know this is a lot of mass. but let's start heading in the correct direction. Okay. We've got about 1 minute until this burn, or rather a minute and a half until this burn, and our circularization burn is going to be fairly significant at 772.5 meters per second. But we're starting to turn at an appreciable rate now. We've got about 50 seconds, 40 seconds, 30 seconds, 20 seconds. We're not quite going to make it. 10 seconds, 9, 8. I'm throttling us up a little bit if I can. Okay, I'm going to disengage the autopilot here. I'm going to handle this manually. Okay, I'm burning at this moment a little bit for gimbal purposes. Okay. Let's go ahead and get this burn done. So that was a little awkward, no doubt about it. MechJeb was struggling to get us turned in the correct direction. It was allowing it to coast rather than killing the physics, and that was not the right call. So manual intervention was required in that regard. We still basically didn't make it to this burn point in time. I wonder what would have happened if MechJeb had been allowed to tumble that around, though. I wonder if it would have made it. So we've got about 7 meters per second here. Let's get this last little bit here. This is good enough. This is a little off because of our strange operation there. Our orientation was not great, but that's fine. So if we were to burn somewhere around here, what are we looking at here? Okay, we set Duna as our target, and this is a pretty bad transfer window. I'm not shocked about that. Let's go ahead and just park it about there, and we'll do this the old-fashioned way. So let's head on over to the node here. I'm going to kill the physics, and we're going to physics warp over to the node. Now, as we burn out fuel here, this turn rate is going to get substantially faster, but it's very slow at this point. But you can see it's already faster after we burned off that 700 meters per second here. So that's looking absolutely fine. We've got a lot of fuel weight up here as well, and it'll be okay too. So we're going to be ditching this first stage about 2/3 of the way through this burn, and that will definitely help our turn ratio? Radius? Neither of those words are actually what I wanted. What I wanted was turn rate. Those words have meanings, and that was not the meaning I intended. So we're at this point going to head on over to this node. 4 minutes until our burn time. And our first 2/3 of this burn are going to be a whole lot faster than our second third. But we should still have pretty good thrust to weight with the Poodle engine here. It should be pretty powerful for what we're trying to propel. Okay, we've got 40 seconds, 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay, off we go here, and we're going to get rid of this first stage here in about another 200 meters per second. There we go, and off it goes. What's our thrust to weight now? 1.02. Wow, okay. That's a solid thrust to weight. Fuel drain is happening correctly, which we would expect. And let's get this burn completed. So we've got about another 12 seconds in the burn. Not bad at all. Did we deploy the antenna? Yes, MechJeb did deploy the antenna. Okay. Just wanted to double check that before we got too far. Overshot the burn a little bit. I don't care. It's fine. This is good enough. So at this point, we are going to warp our way out of here. So let's get out of this system. So here we are at 10,000x, making our way on out. And we should have absolutely no problem whatsoever here. Very, very simply, we're just going to probably do a match planes, although I don't think we need to. We're probably going to do it anyway. Let's just get into the sphere of influence of the sun before we do anything else. Okay, there we go. We're now in the sun's sphere of influence. So let's set Duna as our target again. Yeah, so the descending node is right over here, and that will be absolutely fine. Let's go ahead and just do a very, very, wow, 3.1 meters per second. That is a teeny tiny inclination change. Okay. Let's go ahead and orient around for that. Set Duna as our target again. It keeps clearing itself for some reason. And we are then going to align to this node, and we turn a whole lot faster now that we've gotten rid of that first stage. That was a lot of mass, and we're delighted to be gone with it. So we can turn much, much quicker here. 0.3 second burn, huh? Okay. So let's get that alignment completed, and let's warp on forward. We're probably going to have to take at least one orbit here. I don't know how many orbits this is going to end up being, but this is not a good transfer window. That's okay. So I'm going to do this burn basically as soon as we drop out of warp here. I don't care about getting the timing exact. Let's just get this done. Okay, 0.0 meters per second, good enough. So we should now be in 0.0 degrees. And if we were to delay this burn and do the burn sometime around here, we can see, yeah, this is a better time, but it's not a good time. The time we really want is sometime around, well, we need to bring back our apoapsis a little bit and have it be about here-ish. Yeah, just dial that in a little bit. Little bit more retrograde. Yeah, right about here. That's pretty ideal in terms of timing. Not so ideal in terms of this inclination. Let's go ahead and, if I can select the maneuver node, that would be nice. Hello, maneuver node. No? Okay. From this direction, we can select it. Perfect. So with that open, now we can come in here and we can make some tweaks. Anti-normal. Okay. So we need to get a little retrograde here. That was very sensitive indeed. But we know that we want to be going in this direction, I believe. Yeah, I think Ike is going this way. So we are currently going this way, and we're going to want to tweak that a little bit. So this is going to be going retrograde here. So we'd want to pull this around and come into plane here. Like that-ish. It's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be perfect. That's pretty good. It's not ideal, not 100%, but I'm going to accept it. We can tweak it once we get there. So let's align to that node and prepare for that burn. That's going to be in 361 days, but we should have no life support problems. Our life support situation on the planet should be dealt with, at least until we add more Kerbals. With more Kerbals, it could be a problem, and we're going to need to add more Kerbals. So that's definitely a thing. Let's warp on forward, and let's see how that's going. Yeah, no problem whatsoever here with the life support. That should be fine. So this is going to be a pretty long warp, and it's also about time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we're going to bring this thing right on in. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, Rornaz, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.